And how about that? Through the miracle of science, I'm in two places at the same time. For those of you that are still listening to me over on the Thin Line Rock Station and have come back to watch the show, thank you. We appreciate it. And I got to get some stuff out of the way here first. We are live on yergsradio.com. If you can't watch, which you shouldn't be watching and driving, you can go to yergsradio.com and listen. And you can also call us at 1-888-88-YERGZ. That's compliments of the Yergs Radio Network. We're also live on Rainbow Radio and the Parapost Network. Thank you all for allowing us the use of your bandwidth. We appreciate it. Hello, Brenda. Hello. I thought I saw Wendell in there. Maybe I didn't. Let's see. Who all have I got hiding in the back here? I've got the beautiful and wonderful Miss Cheyenne.
Hello.
And I've got the beautiful and wonderful Andy. How are you?
Good.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and bring our guest out and let her introduce herself. She's got quite a story, and she's joined with a special guest too. So he has an excellent story too. So, Lynn, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hi, everybody. How are you this evening?
Fabulous.
The trick is getting Andy to talk. So,
Well, I said hi to her.
Can
you hear me?
This is Michael Mathews. This is my spouse. And good evening.
Welcome to the show. So, Lynn, you were telling us that you've got quite a bit of experience with FDNY, and Michael, well, by inheritance, you have quite a bit of experience with FDNY.
I was raised by one.
Oh, well, congratulations. That had to be a tough life.
A lot of beatings.
And that's just after you married Lynn, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I never got a beating I didn't deserve, you know.
Oh, God.
I'm still arguing over mine, but so Lynn, tell us about yourself. Your resume was longer than my computer screen, so I'm just going to let you do it because you've done everything.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm old, and I've been practicing for a long time. I was a medical and clinical social worker for 35 years. And during that 35 years, part of my experience was with the FDNY. 6 days after 9/11, my husband and I packed up everything and drove like the crazy New Yorkers that we are and drove back to New York. And initially when I got there, I was an employee assistance professional, which is otherwise known as an EAP, in-house counselor therapist for the USPS during the Anthrax. And that was interesting because I was in one of the plants, the postal plants. And so I would come home every afternoon and say, oh my goodness, I hope I didn't step on anything or touch anything. Or, it's I guess you could call it a job hazard. So anyway, once I got done taking my clothes off and throwing them in the washing machine and hoping that I didn't get thraxed, then shortly after that, I was contacted by the FDNY because I had put out a resume to them, and they were in the process of creating their counseling services units all over the tri-state area. And I am very grateful that I had the amazing opportunity to help them create their unit on Long Island as one of their clinical supervisors. And it was one of the most difficult jobs I have ever had and the greatest job I have ever had. That I guess you could say it will stay with me for the rest of my life. So that's the long and the short of it. And I've done a lot of trauma work during that time as an EAP, from other fires in New Mexico to helping people get rehoused with Katrina in different states. There was some airplane crashes that occurred in the New York area after the towers fell. So you kind of get used to juggling different types of traumatic experiences as just, part of your repertoire as an EAP. And sometimes a corporation will hire you to just go in temporarily, whether it's, let's say, a robbery at, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the store I was at. I don't know, Walmart, let's say. So you go in and you work with clients and you kind of help to get them on an even keel so that they can get back to work. So it's a very specific kind of job. You do, like I said, you deal with a lot of traumatic things, and hope you keep your sanity, while you're doing it. So it's kind of the long and the short of it. And after I retired from clinical work, I thought, well, what can I do with the experiences that I have, and still continue to share that experience with the public. So my husband and I went into documentary filmmaking, and we've been doing that for about 12 years now. 12, no, since 2012.
So,
It's not 20 years.
2011.
2011, how many years?
I don't know.
No, I said it's about 12 years.
You didn't know there was a math quiz.
No, it's 13. 13 years.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So anyway, that's what we've been doing. We've been taking the experience that we have and using documentary film as an opportunity to educate and advocate. And we've taken some of our films to the Senate and the Pentagon, and we've had the opportunity to go out and advocate on one topic in particular, which is military sexual trauma, otherwise known as MST. Unfortunately, that's one of the highest numbers of rape in any system, and trying to create policies and change within the military. So that's just the quickie version.
And one was up for an Academy Award.
Oh, well, congratulations. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, that's kind of what we've been doing. But, it's funny, once you do this kind of work, whether you're retired or not, you're always finding some way to, I don't know, it finds you or you find it. You just keep doing it. So we came back to Albuquerque, and I did some volunteer work with AFD, which is Albuquerque Fire Department, with their chaplaincy. And I was, proud to do that. And some other volunteer work with firefighters and supporting them in, staying emotionally healthy, and just finding their way sometimes when people are struggling with PTSD or, other forms of emotional things, depression, suicide. What else? I'm trying to think. That's a lot there. Okay. Stop talking. No, that's a lot of it.
And I've been social work to hell.
Yes, it
And
has.
41 years of it.
Yeah.
Has it worked? Are you social?
No, it doesn't take. I'm like, I got Teflon on,
I love it. Well, I was going to ask, or mention rather, most of the jobs you described are some of the highest ranked in suicides. So it's a very important, whether it's police, fire, EMS, military, it's very important mission. And a lot of people don't take it serious especially the EMS side at all. They don't take it serious at all. And I'm not sure if I told you, but I was one of those people until an orthopedic surgeon told me otherwise. But it's a real thing. We go on these calls, and I was even a critical incident stress management.
Right.
And we go on these calls, and the stuff sticks to us, is the best way I can describe it. And eventually you got to get rid of it.
They say, doctor heal thyself, or firefighter heal thyself, or clinician. What I noticed over time, and I think we shared a little bit the other night, was my own numbness that I didn't realize I was having, and it was coming out in other ways, whether I was, eating too much of a certain food, or I just didn't feel anything. It was like, I guess you could say there was like a period of numbness where, I don't know, just didn't feel anything. And for a while, I just thought it was normal, but then I realized, well, it wasn't. So gratefully, the FDNY offered its clinicians the opportunity to see a therapist for a therapist, for, like twice a week. And I thought, well, what the heck, I can go talk to somebody twice a week. And it was probably the best thing I did. It was helpful. And I would encourage other people to not be put off by whatever you think it might be. Because right after the towers fell, our doors were open. And initially, there were not a lot of people walking through them. But little by little, the word would get out like, this is an okay place. This is a safe place. And the environment was set up like a firehouse. We had a kitchen, we had food, we had laughs, we had tears. I mean, it was set up in a way where it was very welcoming and I hope safe. And little by little, the word would get out that, you know, this is a cool place to come to. So obviously it must have been because it's still in existence. And for at least the first 4 years, you know, we were busy all the time. I mean, all the time.
I mean, I can't imagine it was such an acute, enormous event, and then add that with the many years of probably trauma that they had prior to that. It was overwhelming. I'm sure.
Very true, because I mean, I'm sure, as you all know, trauma begets trauma. And it's almost like House of Cards. I mean, whatever, and it's like with anyone, not even a firefighter, whatever we don't clean up along the way, we just like, you know, push on the back burner. Eventually, when you've had enough things in your way, it's going to come out somehow. I mean, and not always in a good way. So I think what is a good thing to do is to, you know, educate people on being mindful about some of the red flags that they may notice in themselves or in one of the brothers or sisters. I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to leave out the female firefighters, but or EMT or EMS or police or military or just civilians like myself. You know, I mean, it's, well, can you speak to that about, you know, paying attention to red flags about, you know, suicidality? Would you be comfortable with that? Or?
Well, yeah, I tried to commit suicide 5 times in my life until I figured out what the hell was going on, you know. And that's how we got into the documentary filmmaking. I was when I was in the military, I was knocked unconscious and raped by 3 individuals, and I never told anybody. I just made sure that shit never happened again, you know. And I became, you know, Billy Badass. You know, I was always carrying a weapon with me everywhere I went, you know, and I wasn't trusting nobody. And I didn't didn't tell anybody until, you know, it started really bubbling up when I went back to New York after 9/11. And she's come home and she doesn't tell me people's names, but she's regurgitating these stories, trying to get them off her chest at first. And it's just triggering my PTSD out the ass, you know. And it's like, you know, it just took a toll until I started going to counseling and I figured out what the hell was going on. And I finally came forward and told my truth, you know. And then I found out that's when we got into the MST community, found out how many men there were. It's like unphenomenal. It's the largest kept secret, you know. In the military, there's they say, oh, there's only 1% of men, and but there's, you know, 30% of women. But the only problem is the 30% of women is only based upon 100,000, and the men are based upon 1 million. So you got more physical number of men, you know, and it's but men don't come forward. It takes men an average of 20 to 30 years before they come forward.
You know, it's really crazy. I kind of sensed for a long time that there was some depression there. And, you know, unless someone tells you what's going on with them or you ask them, sometimes you really don't know. And one day he had picked me up from work and he said, honey, I want to talk to you. And I was like, what man says that? You know, like, I was like, that's, honey, I want to talk to you. I thought, wow, this is going to be bad. So I said to him, we were driving in the car and I said, do you have a girlfriend? No. Do you have a boyfriend? No. Did you rob a bank? No. Did you hurt someone? No. Do you have cancer? No. And I was like, oh, thank God, there's nothing left. Okay, the only thing I never asked him if he had been raped in the military. I never even knew to even ask him that question. And then you can tell the rest. But I mean,
yeah, I don't look like a type guy that would get raped. I'm 6'3" and I'm pretty stocky, you know, and it doesn't look like somebody could, you know, but you find out that has nothing to do with it. You know, anybody could be overpowered, taken advantage of. It's, you know, knocked unconscious or slip you a Mickey or get you drunk, you know, it's, you know, and perpetrators gravitate towards closed systems, such as the Boy Scouts, the Catholic Church, universities, where, you know, they keep it quiet for you. You know, you don't have to keep it quiet. They keep it quiet. The systems do, you know.
Or
Like I
they
said,
think you're not going to say anything too because of
it's like everybody knows Jeffrey Dahmer, but nobody knows Jeffrey Dahmer was in the Army. He was a medic in the Army, and he raped two of the guys in our movie. The only known survivors are Jeffrey Dahmer. And even when they made two movies about Jeffrey Dahmer, they never mentioned he was in the Army. Can you imagine? It's like, that's a really good kept secret. You know, they discharged him. They knew he was raping his roommate. He had him handcuffed to the bed. He was a supervisor, and he was drugging him and raping him. And
even in the documentary that was, or the docuseries that was made, it was like,
yeah. And they kicked him out. They kicked him out for alcoholism. And his roommate was kicked out for torture. Not kicked out, but his discharge orders. There's codes, and his code was he was discharged because of torture. So
Wow.
you know, it's kind of like, wow,
Never knew that,
you guys got to keep this quiet. You know, if you maybe put him in jail, I think it was 8 or 9 young men who got killed and cannibalized would never happened. You know, it's like, you know, you guys are something else.
Well, he's not the only one. What's it called? The BTK killer?
Yeah.
He was, I mean, you can start seeing a similar pattern or MO, and you like the crime stuff too, right? So you can see something really similar. And if you look at quite a few of them, several of them had been active duty at one point. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, what could have happened at some of these military installations that just kind of like, you know, slipped under the radar. So,
or they were just actively looking the other way.
Yeah.
Well, the military had problems always getting people to enlist. So when they did background checks, the FBI does a background check to everybody that joins the military. And they would leave out the portion about if they ever committed any sexual assaults or anything. The military didn't want to know about that. That was one of the criteria that they didn't want the FBI to tell them.
Wow.
You know, so anybody that had a record for sexual assault was getting in the military, you know.
Well, when they're that desperate for people that they're overlooking things as big as that.
Well, this is especially during Vietnam, they were just taking bodies and throwing them out there to get killed. You know, I mean, yeah, just sheer numbers is what they were doing.
Yep.
Wow.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go down to like a dark road here, you know.
Well, no, it's important. And when he threw out the math, it made sense. But until he said it, I never would have thought about it.
Well, here's the thing, getting back to mental health issues, not unlike any other traumatic. I have a friend here. Hello, I'm sorry. This is my little pony who's 5 months old. Oh, God help us. She's going to be, say hello. Say hi. Hi,
Her
everybody.
head is bigger than mine.
She's gigantic.
Too big.
What's her name?
Her name is Bella Luna.
Oh.
Yeah, she's very fancy. You know? But I'm sorry, she's our big baby. But you know, you can see similar patterns in traumatic incidences. You know, and they're very similar regardless of what system. And you know, if you have repeated traumatic incidences and they don't get addressed, they're going to come out somehow. They'll come out in self-harm, whether it's suicide or I ate too much or I drank too much or you know, my spouse has had enough of me, or I'm sleeping with, you know, 10 men or 10 women, or I mean, you're going to see it. And there are other things. People will spend too much. I mean, people will isolate. Yeah, exactly.
Doing things to other people. And
we work with a lot of people from these different systems. So we work with the Cosby survivors. We know them very closely, and you know, we work with what's the guy? I can't. My mind draws a blank. Penn State. What was his name?
Oh, Sandusky.
Yeah, Sandusky. We worked with his son, Matthew Sandusky, who actually his adopted son, who he raped. He started an organization actually to help kids, and we worked with him for a while. We worked with a lot of people. You know, we worked with Congresswoman Spears and Congresswoman Senator Gillibrand. Different, you know, and you know, they're liberals. Yeah, everybody says, they're liberals. Yeah, but those are the ones who care about these things that we're talking about, and they help us get the bills passed, you know, to stop it. You know,
it doesn't matter if they're blue or red; they're American. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I think the whole point is trying to engage people that have the opportunity to create policy and, have them
Create change.
understand. Say again?
Create change.
Exactly, create change. And it's not a red or blue thing at all. In fact, I completely want to get away from that. I mean, we are all Americans. And when it comes down to our first responders or responders, first, second, whatever, nobody's asking you when you're out there pulling people out of the towers. Oh, by the way, what party are you in? Nobody gave a hoo-ha that day. Okay. Nobody cared. Okay. And at the end of the day, the men and women that are still, I'm sorry, doggy, that are still dealing with the physical ramifications and emotional ramifications of that, nobody's looking at what party they're in. Okay. These are people that still need love and still need support and still need help. And I think I told you, John Field, he's an amazing first responder that puts his money where his mouth is. He goes up on the Hill with Jon Stewart. They passed a lot of legislation. They're still working on it as far as getting, continued funding for people that are presenting now with all kinds of cancers.
From the burn pits. And such.
Exactly, the burn pits as well.
And at the end of the day, regardless, we're all still people.
Hey, in 72, I was 18. It was the first year that 18-year-olds had the right to vote. And I registered non-affiliated. And it gave everybody a fit, including my father. No, you got to pick a party. No, I don't. And to this day, I've never been registered to any party. And everybody tells me, well, you can't vote in a primary. I say, good. I don't like your party system. I want to vote. I'm an American, but I don't have to belong to a party. I never have. And I'm 70 this year, and I still ain't belong to a party. Now they call me undecided. They used to call me non-affiliated. Now I'm undecided.
Don't you love how they reword the things or redefine, I guess, the things? It's like
yeah, the slogan.
And actually, I still have had contact over the last 23 years, especially around the anniversary. I noticed that that can be, and I hate the word trigger, it's so overused, but it can be, how do I say? People start remembering, their memories get, their antenna goes up. And the closer it gets to September 11th, I always know it's coming. Like when it's September 1, in my mind, I'm counting the days till it's like September 12. Like I just want the day to be like over. Even this many years. I don't know why I do that, but I still do it. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that still does it.
This guy, I do it to this day. I hate that day. I told everybody beforehand in my life, everything bad that happened in my life happened from October 6th, my birthday, to right around the end of January, 1st of February. And I said, that's my when you won't hear from me period. And then 9/11 happened, and I was like, well, F that. I guess I got to add another month to this. So, and to this day, I had two events that happened on 9/11 that really to this day still bother me. So,
do you care to share, or I hate that day too? Okay, Andy.
Yeah, Andy's having computer problems. You didn't just run him off, so he is having some because he was only having one bar on there signals.
My date was actually February 6th. That was the day I got enlisted in the military. And that wasn't such a bad day in my mind. But 10 years later, my daughter died on that day. So that became a bad anniversary. It's kind of like one of those things.
And we sticks to us. Like, actually, I was looking on the calendar before the show, and my hire date with the city that just shit on me and left me as a number just came around, and I totally forgot about it. I saw it on the calendar, and I was like, well, I'm glad I forgot about it. Well, that date stick with you.
Well, and actually, some anniversary dates can have a double-edged sword. I have one coming up on the 28th of this month. I had heart surgery 1 year ago on the 28th of July. And it is now my alive day because during that operation, they had to stop my heart and put me on a machine and a lung machine. And look at me, I'm still here. So I'm really grateful. I'm like, well,
and that was my second daughter's birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
who just died in October. So
And talk about crazy. I mean, yeah.
Well, that's your second birthday too now. So.
Well, October is my first one also. I'm October baby too. So.
Okay. Well, if we'll have to exchange
Yeah,
birthdays.
let's have a birthday party. We'll have cake now.
You're on the West Coast, so I'll never get out there.
you have to exchange. Challenge coins.
There you go.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But we used to use the challenge coins much better way than they do now. We never collected them.
No,
You had them in your pocket. You walked into the NCO club, and if someone slapped that coin down, you better have yours with you, or you're buying drinks for everybody. And the person who slapped it down, everybody had that coin. He's buying drinks for everybody.
Oh gosh.
yeah, the coins have taken quite a different meaning, but a lot of us, with the fire department, we would carry them either in our gear or our helmet. So if we had one for our particular department, like station, or if you were with a certain division, that's what we would do. So it had a different meaning for us.
We carried them all the time, and the one I had, after about 10 years, you couldn't read it anymore.
Was that from putting it on the bar too many times?
No, that's carried in your pocket, with your keys and your change and everything,
Hey, by the way, were you able to get a hold of Matt? Matt's with the FDNY, and he just wrote this amazing novel. It's a great novel. You want to read it like at the beach, with a drink, or just it's very interesting. A lot of talented people in the rescue services that have other creative talents.
Oh yeah. Actually, I had sent him a message, but I haven't heard anything back yet. So, I think you said that he was on vacation or something. I believe.
I think he is on vacation, but
He goes on vacation a lot.
I don't know.
He might be towards the end of his career trying to burn all that time up. That's what you do.
Really?
That's the one thing I loved about the military. 30 days a year, and I took every one of them.
Yeah, I would too. Well, a lot. You talked about the creativity amongst us. I think it also is one of the ways we help blow things off.
Yes.
I've met many people that are writing books, have written books. We've had them on this show, several of them. You're my first FDNY contact. I hope not my last. I've been trying to.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I got
Really?
plenty more where that came from. Actually, quite a few of the FDNY people that I am in touch with are authors and filmmakers, and the very, very interesting group of people, and they have great stories. Endless stories.
Oh yeah. Well, and I like that part of this show too, war story time. So.
Well, Lynn interviewed a lot of them on her podcast.
Yes, you can go listen, and you'll hear some other interesting stories. In fact, there's quite a few people there that I my dog is making me crazy here, stuff that I mentioned to get a hold of you, and that I think would make very fun guests with great stories. So you may hear from some of them.
I hope so. Because FDNY departments out of Metro Washington D.C. have been, most of their people are locked down. It seems like they don't want to talk. So it's hard to get any of them to talk. So I've been trying to get some other people from Fairfax, where I'm from, to come talk, and it's like pulling teeth.
I guess it depends. Are they retirees? Are they still active? Or
some are. We had a major on from Fairfax County. He's doing some fascinating work in his retirement with a Colorado Police Department. They're taking the DNA, which a lot of people are doing these days, doing the swab and checking their family tree, and they're tracing that back through criminal histories and solving cold cases.
I
love that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
It's fascinating. He was on the show telling us about it. He says he's 90% of the time it's not the person that gave the DNA, but it's their fifth cousin, stepchild, or something.
Yeah, sure.
And they piece it together is what to him as a detective was so interesting, because they might be in this part of the country, then over here, and then his story was great.
That's how the Golden State
Killer.
killer got caught, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
To relatives.
I know Dick Wolf Productions at one point reached out to me. They were interested in, I guess they had some funding to go through the rape kits that had been just sort of like sitting on a shelf for way too long in an unnamed city. I'm not going to say where. And it turns out that the unnamed city didn't want to do it, because I would imagine that it might make the city not look so good if a production company came in and said, okay, we're going to pay, to do something about this. And it had been sitting on a shelf for God knows how long. So, they're the same production company that does all those, firefighter shows and rescue shows.
Well, needless to say, the show never made it.
No, it didn't.
Because they couldn't get any cities to take up on it because they didn't want the black eye,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah. Well, it doesn't surprise me about the rape kits. I've heard that from many detectives in several different cities that they just sit there.
Stop. Don't bite me.
Yeah.
Stop it. She's biting. Get out of here.
Well,
When I started
military throws the rape kits away. After they do them, they had people that, they just threw their rape kits away after they went back and, wanted to know what happened to the rape kits, and they just threw them in the trash. That was the normal standard operation procedure.
Wow. Well, I know when I first started as a paramedic, it was in a small rural city, and not rural. It's a pretty decent sized city. We would have shootings and violence every night. And you'd go home, and the next morning on the news, you've been up all night running these calls, and they're talking about the weather and all the great things that happened and the flower festival and all this. I'm like,
Nothing.
Shark
what's
attacks.
going on? And so a bunch of us finally started asking, because there was a lot of us that had just come out of school, and they were like, well, that's because of the mayor. So what do you mean it's because of the mayor? The mayor is squashing it. He doesn't want it out there because it'll ruin tourism to the city.
I had a similar experience in an unnamed city where I was told to not do certain things that were ethically inappropriate if I had chosen to do them. And because I was a professional, I did not. So sometimes if you go along to get along and your license and your ethics are on the line, you can put yourself in a really bad place. So if you choose not to do that, you can still put yourself in a bad place with the system, if you know what I'm saying. So there are choices to be made. And at least, let's just say, my mother used to say, remember, if you have to look yourself in the mirror. And so I feel that I can still do that. So I'm happy to say that. I know the city that I'm currently in right now is having a lot of problems with a lot of crime, and unfortunately not enough police, not enough fire and rescue. And it's gotten really, what'd you say?
Well, we're number 19th in the world for the most dangerous city, and we're number 1 in America.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's Albuquerque. I'm not bashful. I'll tell you who it is. It's Albuquerque.
I was going to guess Chicago. Wow. Okay.
No, Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's a danger.
The other day there was some big important person on TV in charge of a law enforcement department in front of Congress or Senate or one of them, and they were talking about the problems in their department that led up to this event and blah blah blah. And I said to my friend, I said, why don't somebody just finally rip the damn Band-Aid off and tell the truth? No one wants to be a cop. No one wants to be a fireman. No one wants to be a paramedic because we don't get paid enough. We're treated like shit by our management. And why don't we just tell the truth? And it's going to continue to get worse. You lie, and then you mandatory people. I know paramedics in large metropolitan cities, they're mandatory for 48 hours. Then they get 24 hours off. Why don't these administrators come out and start telling the truth? And they're not going to.
Yeah.
Because once they get above a certain level, they don't want to admit the problem because then their job's in jeopardy.
And it's what you want to spend your money on. It's they don't pay cops enough, so you get, and people say, well, defund the cops because they're doing terrible jobs. They do terrible jobs because the quality of people they get that works for that amount of money. Most of them are very unsavory people. I hate to say this, but it's true. I mean, if you pay them a decent wage, you get people of a upper class of people that come in there and have a higher set of morals, but they don't.
Yeah. And you're asking somebody to put your life on the line for my last department. I was topped out at $15 an hour.
I was going to say for 15
2020.
bucks.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
2020. In 2020 as a firefighter paramedic. And they're like, oh, you work a 12-hour shift. So that doesn't make it any better. That doesn't make it any worse.
No, it doesn't. You're absolutely right.
And the turnover, at least I know in the larger cities, is really great now, greater than it was before. Especially, I'm not going to call it post-COVID because COVID is still there, but in the height of the crisis, if you will. I mean, the amount of work and the amount of stress was just unfathomable, and you can see the ramifications of it now in different cities as far as, I went to go get an echo this morning. They canceled it twice because they don't have any techs. They don't have any schedulers. What is happening? It's crazy.
I think COVID scared a lot of people that were in the medical field for different reasons. I think it scared them off.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is just my personal opinion. I think now we're left with truly the people that want to be in the medical profession. Because prior to that, you had people that would just show up and do a job. But then when you found out you might do a job that'll kill you, oh my, So, that's the way I feel. Well, and then we were so ill prepared as far as responders for COVID. And I remember I sat down in a meeting with my chief. We were a small city department 2-3 months before it came stateside. And I said, this is coming. We need to be ready. He said, oh, we're a small department, outside of the city of Atlanta. That won't happen here. I said, who's their number one employer? Hartsfield Airport. What are they? The largest international airport in the United States. Where do you think it's going to be? We're going to be ground zero 2 months later. But they didn't want to prepare. They didn't want to listen. So, yeah. I don't have an NDA in case you haven't figured that out.
It's funny because like when 9/11 happened, this was not a one-off. The military had been talking about this for when I was in. So that was going on for 20 years. I told my wife about 9/11 happening, maybe 10, 15 years before it happened. I kept saying, it's going to happen. This is going to happen. And, and nobody wanted to listen.
I have a book that we were training with. Still, I have it in my closet, actually, with a bunch of other books. It has twin towers on it with a bullseye on it.
Yeah.
And that was in, God, when did I start in fire EMS? In the late 80s? So, yeah.
Nobody wanted to listen, and they kept telling them, and not one president, administration ever listened to the military,
Well, hell, look at them now. They're on Capitol Hill telling the American people some bad shit's about to happen to you, So, but nobody's listening.
Not a Democrat or Republican one will do anything about it. They just talk a lot of stuff, and it's all about getting reelected and getting more money for themselves.
Well, nothing's going to happen until after January, and then flip a coin. So.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen then. It doesn't matter who you elect.
Probably not. I can agree with that. But yeah, it's like I said, I think a lot of times that we don't like to be honest with ourselves about things. And I don't think it's just public safety in the military. I think that there's other professions and careers out there like that. But I think that we're probably just in view of the camera more.
Yeah. Well, and I think back, 9/11 to the communications that seemed a little bit faulty. I would say a lot faulty for the firefighters. And I thought, well, when COVID first happened, I thought, well, could we have learned something from that? About preparation. Like I was just so surprised that major cities didn't have or didn't seem to have much of a plan in place, for something like this. I mean, and I could be wrong. Okay. I'm not privy to everything.
No,
obviously.
you're not wrong.
All right. Well, okay. I'm just saying, I don't know everything, and I'm willing to learn, but I was very, very shocked. I mean,
they had emergency equipment, but not one major city in this country had enough equipment for a pandemic.
No.
Yep.
And
Next
we've
time.
got a history of it happening. I mean, you know, it's happened in this country back in 1912 or something like that. You know,
I mean, we sat in our kitchen with a sewing machine. I don't sew, mind you. Okay, I admit it. He knows how to use a sewing machine. I don't. Okay. No, I'm serious. He sat there and made hundreds of masks for our local physicians that ran out of them. I had doctors that I know calling me saying, "Can Michael make me some masks? I don't have any." And once he made them, and I'm very proud of you, we went to different hospitals and different doctors' offices and dropped off masks.
we didn't charge anybody.
No,
for
we
it
just
either.
gave it to them. It's like, this is nuts. I mean, it's just, till this day, it's still hard to fathom that that's something that
As
was.
a matter of fact, I was making so many masks. The old sewing machine we had, I had to go out and buy a new Singer sewing machine.
It's just
Well, you know,
It's
some of the
funny,
training.
I was working at the bank at the time,
Mhm.
and we had and the bank that I worked in was in a Walmart, and we had people coming in because our boss had printed out it was basically just the side shape of the mask, and we were standing there on the teller line making our own masks and having people come in asking us to make them.
I got a better one.
Huh.
Our department didn't have enough, and so we were each issued one. We were told to use it until it wore out. Then, it gets better. It gets better.
That was exactly the same thing at the pit.
That's what
They
happened.
came around with a brown paper bag.
Everybody using the same mask over and over again.
Yeah. They came in with a brown paper bag and said, at the end of your shift, spray Lysol in the bag, put your mask in the bag, and put it in your locker with your gear, fire gear, you know, all the canister carcinogens in it. And I told the chief, I said, will you do me one favor? He said, sure. I said, please put that in writing. I want that in writing. And by the time he made our city had 3 stations. By the time he made his rounds back, that order was rescinded. So, yeah, because, and our chief, the chief that's still there, he's been there for 40 years. He should know. For Christ's sake, he started as a volunteer. He should know, but you get afraid of your job.
Even that was like a weird thing with the bank too. A bank, we got one, and it was like they started trying to issue write-ups if we didn't wear the work approved one, and it was like, you're okay, we work in a Walmart with the public who's here buying up all the toilet paper and everything possible.
Well, I mean,
I'm supposed to wear this one mask from 9 to 6.
I had in my closet, I had hundreds of masks, 95s. I had hundreds of them for a good 20 years, because every time a big flu epidemic came out, I would tell her, put your mask on, we're going out to the store, you know. And she would always say, God. I said, well, that's my NBC training from the military, you know.
Yep. And
she always laughed at me. And then when COVID hit, everybody was calling over, you got masks?
Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah,
don't
I
have
got
any.
95s. They says, can we have some? I said, no, but I'll make you some of the other ones. The good ones are for me.
I don't blame you.
I wasn't giving my 95s away.
No.
And to this day, we still haven't gotten COVID.
No, yeah, don't jinx yourself.
Don't
I had it one time. I don't want it again. Holy cow! So
Yeah.
We wear our masks religiously, and when we go to certain places, like when we fly on a plane, people look at us like we're crazy in the airports and planes. We're not taking it off. You know, I ain't drinking shit on the plane because I ain't taking it off. You know, I'm just either I'm paranoid or whatever. But when we're in really tight area and there's bad ventilation, the masks are going on. You know.
Yeah, either that or I take a big pashmina and I wrap my head around it and I make like a tent. And take a sip of water, and that's it. Oh gosh. Well, at least we haven't lost our sense of humor in the middle of all of whatever this is that we're living through right now. Oh boy.
For a lot of it, that's all you have.
I don't think it's that we have more undue than any other generational did prior to us. I think we just have more accurate reporting of it now and more expedient reporting of it now.
Absolutely.
And I mean, taking the fact also our population's increased, but I think that's been a big part of it. So,
missing children until it rolled around in the late 60s, early 70s, we put kids on milk cartons. That was about the only way you heard about missing children. Now, there's Amber Alerts and everything. You hear about them everywhere now, so people know. I mean, people watch their kids a lot better than they used to, I mean, it's just.
Well, unfortunately, they have to.
And people always tell me, yeah, but we didn't have that problem when we were kids. And I said, yeah,
you did.
You certainly did. You just didn't hear about it.
Yeah, we didn't have the internet back then.
And the news media didn't want to talk about it.
It's still don't unless it makes a sensational headline, I guess is the correct way of saying it. So
usually it's got to be a cute little white girl, and then they'll plaster it all over everything. If it's a minority, forget it. They're not talking about it.
Well, they had 7 minority little girls disappear in Washington, D.C. within 4 or 5 blocks of each other in one night.
Wow.
And it didn't make the news.
Oh, wow.
How the hell is this? What kind of country do I live in? How does that not make the news? In one night.
It doesn't sell newspapers, brother. That's what it boils down to. It's all about airtime and what sells.
Yeah. Yeah. There is that, and the millionaires and billionaires own all the news corporations. So
they got to get their ratings up. You got to make the airtime.
Yeah. Well, okay. So Lynn, we'll change it up a little bit instead of getting me angry and probably get yelled at by one of my sponsors. But so tell us, I'm sure in all your experiences, you have run into a plethora of different people. Tell us some of the positive stories that you can relate to.
Well, I automatically I was thinking of a funny story.
Well,
okay, this is positive. I mean, what I can see about resiliency, especially in fire services, that no matter how bad the public or even the private people that have privy information to whatever, I never laughed so hard in my entire life. I mean, there was always something funny. There was always a prankster. I mean, I didn't even know I had like prankability in me until I started working with my life duty firefighters that they would send to our unit to like work with us until they were able physically and or emotionally to go back to full duty. But I mean, I learned how to have a really good sense of humor. One time we decided we were going to barbecue, some food. And so we had it was like, I call it the hairpin barbecue. It was nothing fancy, like the one your dad had in like 1950 with briquettes or whatever. So we've got that in the backyard. And all of a sudden there's like smoke and lots of it coming in the window. I guess maybe someone left the kitchen window open, which set off the alarm. Okay, and our office was on a campus, which in turn wound up, somebody called the fire department.
The fire department came automatically.
And they came to us, and we're the FDNY. Like, how do I explain this?
But they're on Long Island, and they don't have
don't
have the right key to shut it off.
So it's like, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to be in so much freaking trouble. But we really kind of, how do I say this? We were able to kind of keep it sort of quiet. They kind of like let us go because they thought, well, we're not going to rat you guys out. But that was one of the funny things that happened. I mean, and of course we would, we had a big kitchen table, and in the beginning, everyone and their mother brought by, cake and cookies and donuts and lasagna. I mean, it was carbaholic. I mean, it was like crazy. And so all of us, all the therapists would say, okay, like, every month we'd say, well, how much weight did you gain this month? It was like we gained and lost the same 10 pounds.
I used to drop her off to work every day. I drop her off to work every day because we only have one car. And I'd drop her off and I'd go in and I'd get my fill and then leave, you know. My wife, you can't come in anymore. I says, what's the matter? Someone complain? No, you're getting fat. You can't come in anymore.
Oh God. I mean funny stuff like that. I mean, you know, people show love with food, you know, which is really nice. Right? You know, but what they don't realize is that they're like making all of us fat because we were so stressed and anxious. So all we would do is like eat, and in between, there was no in between clients or firefighters, if you will, or family members in the beginning, because we would eat lunch. And I would say, okay, we're only going to give you 30 minutes because I have like people out the yin yang trying to get in here. So I'd sit there and people would come in and I would be eating my lunch while we were, you know, listening, sharing, whatever, because we didn't want to say no to anybody. What else? What else did I have?
By the end of the session, she's passed out in a food coma.
Yeah,
that happened when she got home. It was Michael had to make a daily trip to Carvel and pick up flying saucers. Okay, I don't know if you know what Carvel is. It's an ice cream, and I was the dealer.
Yeah. I shared this with you the other night. This is true confessions. And you could laugh and say, oh, big deal, it's ice cream. You know, truth be told, it wasn't about, it wasn't compulsively overeating like everything, only like one kind of food. But it was really, it's like, it was a red flag.
Look how skinny she is. I couldn't believe how many of those freaking flying saucers she could scarf down in an evening.
It was like a junkie, you know, and don't laugh. I went to a 12-step group. I went to OA, and they said,
my gosh, I'm sorry.
Well, why are you coming here? You're not overweight. And I said, it's not about weight. It's about what I'm consuming and how fast I'm consuming it. It's sugar is letting me know that I'm not coping. Okay. I don't smoke and I don't drink, but you know, I'm starting to do this weird behavior, and okay,
I wanted to stop.
Yeah, I had to help myself.
Well, we were in New York, and I wasn't eating ice cream. I was sucking down pizzas. I could eat a whole large New York pizza in about 20 seconds.
That's true.
There's some good pie in New York. There's some good pie up there. Look at that. You know,
I left when we left New York after 4 years. I weighed 300 pounds. She didn't.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you know, we can laugh about it now looking back, but those are the little red flags or indicators that, you know, something's up with me, or you know, it's like sometimes it's educating people about, you know, what to look for, whether it's with yourself or, you know, with your significant other, or a friend. You know, one of the other guys or women that you work with at the firehouse, that you need to start noticing when something doesn't feel right or doesn't look right.
That was going to be my next question to you. Let's say that just for a few minutes, you have a shift commander's ear, a station officer's ear. What does he or she need to be looking for in their employees? Because a lot of times we're not going to come forward and tell you, I got a problem.
Okay, he's going to go take care of the dog. Oh, wow, that's a loaded question. It could be a lot of things. You know, it's funny. Sometimes it's the things that you don't necessarily, would not necessarily think are I hate red flags, but, you know, indicators of change. Maybe someone's quiet or loud or short-tempered or late, or just isolating, withdrawn. You know, those are just some of the things. You know, some things people aren't going to tell you. You know, sometimes people can, I hate to say act out, but act out in different ways. Food, drugs, alcohol, not going home, hanging out with the buddies, like day and night, not going home to their families, or their spouse will call and say something to one of the other significant others or wives or husbands that something is different. Just trying to think. There's probably many others, but it's not one specific thing. And one of the things I try to share with people is that there's nothing wrong with asking someone privately, pulling someone to the side and saying, how are you doing? You know, are you doing okay? And sometimes people will say, oh yeah, I'm fine, you know, and they're not necessarily fine. So you may have to check in with them again. And sometimes, if you just go out with someone for a cup of coffee or an evening, sometimes people will open up a little bit more when they're not in the environment. Also, the other thing I notice is people's grooming. Is somebody not washing anymore? I don't know what the regulations are for uniforms, but I know that, right after 9/11, things got a little loosey-goosey, and understandably so. People were, working around the clock and, tired and, just trying to get through the day. And as the months went by and the years went by, things seemed to tighten up a little bit more about, regs about, uniforms and, things like that. Trying to think. This, like I said, it's not necessarily one thing. Also, sometimes somebody will say something like, I don't care anymore, or start giving away their belongings, or being very risky on the job, not being as careful, not only risky with respect to themselves, but with somebody else's life. So, it's not always, what you think it is. But sometimes, here's what I say. And this is going to sound cliche, but our guts tell us a lot. I always tell people, listen to yourself. If your gut says something's up, there's a good possibility that there is, or at least that you should check it out with yourself or with somebody else. Your gut will tell you a lot. I mean, I've learned that from my own experience, whether it's my mental health or even my physical health. I had someone tell me that I was anxious when I had palpitations and my heart was going blur, blur, blur. This went on for like a year. And then finally I thought, no, it's not anxiety. Something's wrong with me. And I went to another person and they said, you're right, your valve is messed up. So what I say to everybody is, if something doesn't feel right, at least check it out. Check it out. I mean, or tell somebody else about it, or ask someone how they're doing.
It's not going to hurt somebody to ask if they're okay.
No, not at all. And sometimes you may have to ask more than once, because sometimes people are very proud and they're afraid that they're going to be pulled into light duty, or they're going to get sent to like a shrink, or, oh my God, to my office or whatever. Although that stereotype is really lessened over the years. I think people realize that, these kinds of career fields, jobs, passions, whatever you want to call them, carry an extra added, I guess, weight, if you will, as the years go by. And so we have to pay attention, we really do. And we have to educate when people are probies, or whether it's EMS, EMT, fire, we have to educate people that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say something's going on. There's no shame in it. I think there needs to be a shift in how people look about self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Really and truly.
I had a supervisor one day tell me, he said, you get X amount of sick days a year, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but I will give you unlimited mental health days if you come to me.
Yes, absolutely.
And I couldn't believe my ears. And it was fascinating. He was one of the best officers to work for. But yeah, he said, I will give you, he said, and we don't have to say a thing about it. He said, I don't need a doctor's note. I don't need nothing. I just need to know you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
now, this might sound like a stupid question, but are all of those typically things that people don't notice in people?
I don't think there's anything that's necessarily typical. I mean, everybody has a different way of coping and a different way of presenting, and we all have different backgrounds, and we all handle stressors differently. One of the interesting things about, the fire services is that not every human being can run into a building or pull somebody out of a car. I mean, you're a special breed of people. I mean, not everyone can do this, and not everybody should do this. I mean, I've had people ask me, well, how did you do that? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I just can do it. Maybe it's my genetic makeup. I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that necessarily. But like I said, not everybody is able to do this kind of work. So you're already a very special individuals that you can do this, but that doesn't mean that you're not human. And I think that since 9/11, thankfully the door has been opened up for normalcy around mental health, and that there's no shame in it. And it's something that we all need to do, is to be mindful of how we feel.
Yeah.
Because
It's
granted,
funny.
I've
sorry.
never worked in that line of work, obviously, but I just think, like, with my previous coworkers and things that and people that I've worked with, like, I feel like I'd notice if, like, pretty quickly, if there was something that little bit off about them, or each day these little things changed. And I'm thinking, like, is that, I mean, I know it's a much more stressful job than anything that I've done, but I'm just thinking, like, is that not stuff that people regularly notice in their coworkers when you work that closely together?
I'll give you one that we didn't notice. Large metropolitan Atlanta department. We had supervisors start coming to us on scene of any police involved motor vehicle accident, because the police department wasn't noticing. They were having a lot of officers responding, red lights and sirens, crashing and dying, but they weren't noticing in their forensic investigation there were no skid marks. And it took an officer pulling me aside, and he said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I knew the officer, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, look around. And the administration at the police department hadn't recognized it, and the fire chief did. And that was a very, I'm sure, upfront conversation when he had to go sit down chief to chief and go, "We got to talk about your men or your women, whatever." Because I know in my career in that city or county, there was at least 3 or 4, and I hadn't noticed it, but it took one of our officers noticing it. And they do forensic investigations on these things. When a police officer is killed in a motor vehicle crash, they investigate every little possibility.
So
But they never noticed there was no skid marks.
were these purposeful things happening, or
Suicidal.
We can't say. I mean, because the person's not here now.
Yeah, but if a person runs into something and he never hits the brakes, it's an awful big lapse of something when you're driving a vehicle. You know.
I agree. But even we hadn't noticed it. And their own, I don't know, I guess it's CID or whatever that comes out and measures everything.
Yeah. And the other thing, I think,
seems like a very big oversight.
Well, I mean, it wasn't an oversight, or was it the fact that they didn't want to see it?
Yeah, intentional. Yeah, that's what I said.
Which was it? I mean, which was it? Because you don't want to think your coworker did that. You know what I'm saying?
And you don't want to affect his family's benefits either.
Exactly. Line of duty benefits, correct.
Or I guess also their view on their family member as well, to think that they would do that.
Well, or do you want to be the person that brings it up and it's not true in that one particular one? I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but I would have hated to have been chief to chief that had to sit down and have that talk. And I noticed shortly thereafter, I don't know what the change was in the police department, but I didn't see that anymore. And I mean, I didn't stop running the calls, but we didn't see that anymore. And but nobody caught it, and it amazed me, because even I hadn't thought of it. So
the guy who ran the motorcycle into the bridge.
Yeah, and
well, it's interesting. Like I say, the closer it gets to the anniversary every year, even though there's 2 decades down the road, I will start having people reach out to me privately, and these are people that I've possibly known like 23 years, because the memory is still very much front and center for them. And so even for other firefighters that may be younger, that weren't there, that weren't at the pit, I think it's a good idea for departments to be mindful that, this is it's a sensitive time, and to sort of just be aware.
Yeah, we worked with very high suicidal communities, PTSD communities, and one thing I noticed when we were out there, we were forefront as advocates. We were talking in DC, and I was writing articles for the New York Times, and a lot of things. And we when the holidays come, we never got to enjoy the holidays. Thanksgiving and Christmas, our phones were ringing constantly from people, and you had to do it. You know what I mean? You can't just let somebody flounder and go. And you would just constantly be inundated because they felt comfortable with us. And it got to a point where we stopped having Christmas. During Christmas, we just can't do this. We just sit there and wait for the phone to ring. And it did. It rang all the time. The holidays were always the worst times.
Yeah.
Yes, even for call volume.
Yeah.
I mean, we would joke about certain holidays. We're going to have a murder or a house fire, or we just knew it going in.
Yeah, sure.
So,
I bet you love the Super Bowl, right?
Super Bowl.
What a nightmare.
The night after usually is.
It's a lot of spousal
I
abuse
think,
that night.
Yes.
I think if anything, that speaks volumes to the type of individuals that you two are, to put your holidays off. To
You know what we are? And I told everybody this many years ago. I said this. There are people who are helpers. I'd probably say it's maybe 15% of the population are helpers. And we don't have a choice, okay? It's the way we're wired. So, people see, my wife gravitated into social work. I gravitated into the military. It could have been anything. It could have been the police department, the fire department, the medics. People who have that DNA, and it doesn't make us better than anybody else. It just makes us stupid, probably, because we wind up being the helpers. They say, "What are you doing?" I can't help myself. I run over and try to help somebody on the highway when their car breaks down. What are you doing that for? You can get killed. I don't know. It just something inside of me tells me to do it. I don't know what it is.
That's because your dad was a firefighter, so it's like genetic. That's what I told him. It's genetic.
Well, I don't know. My brothers, I had 4 brothers, and neither one of them would do anything. They wouldn't stop to help you for shit. They would piss on you if you're on fire.
I think a lot of people that go into things like that too, like you say, the people that are helpers are, I think you go about it in the mindset of, well, if I was on the opposite side of that, what kind of person would I want? I would want somebody like, if you end up becoming like, a nurse or a doctor or anything like that, I want to help people. What kind of doctor would I want if I had to go do that? Or what kind of nurse would I want? Or,
but you have to have good boundaries, because when the people find out you're a helper, the phone never stops ringing. I don't know how many houses I help build, or how many.
and then they think that you will help with anything.
Yeah, how many cars did I help repair? How many nights did I spend away from my family helping other people? And it's like, we go through a 12-step program now in Al-Anon, and it's kind of interesting because you learn to say, it's okay to say no.
Well,
you do have to have boundaries.
It's both a blessing and a curse.
Having a balance between not feeling like it's a knee-jerk thing where you just automatically say yes to, X, Y, and Z. You can pause and choose.
Yeah.
That's what I say to myself now. Just let it be reasonable about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right. Well, I'll touch another tough subject that I've just noticed started popping up, and it wasn't until one of my friends. She's I think she's a captain with the police department. She's also the chief, or I don't know what she's in charge of the FOP, whatever that is, president, chief, whatever. A lot of female police officers, because of a female police officer that was in a very public access point recently, maybe didn't perform their best, which I will never give them shit for because I've been there. I get it. You can't. Let's see you do something under pressure. Now there's a lot of female police officers being berated because they're saying they can't do their job.
Yeah, that's just,
what they saw on TV.
that's just the chauvinistic pigs that they work with. Love throwing them under the bus every chance they get.
Yeah, well, it's the public too. So
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a lot of chauvinists in it, you know, and there's a lot of women love to see women do bad. I mean, you know, that's these people that are so downtrodden. They can't look. They have to look up to look down, for Christ's sake. You know, I mean, these people are so beneath everybody else that actually tear people down like that, because we all make mistakes. Every single one of us. I tell every swinging person I meet, they tell me, yo, oh, you did this, you did that. You don't want to know about all the shit I fucked up. You know?
Well, you know, I'm not a police officer, and when you get Glow to come on, hi Glow, hope you hear this. She could probably speak to that, you know, better than anybody. She's had an array of experience as a female PD. But I think, I mean, for myself, I don't like to make blanket statements. I like to take each person and each situation as just that. And as far as being judgmental, you know, I'm not in that situation in that moment. And I may not be privy to all the information and all the facts. So, you know, as far as, you know, gender issues, well, we could stay on that topic for, you know, God knows how long.
A couple of years.
Yeah, for years. Yeah, absolutely for years.
I always it's like this with the fire department. I may not know what it's like to do a certain police tactic under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
My ass ain't gonna be there, but I can put on my turnout gear from going to a dead sleep to getting on that fire truck in under 2 minutes and be completely prepared to come off that fire truck. So that's a high stress, high performance. And if you make one screw up, you could hurt yourself or somebody else potentially. So I understand that, but I don't think the public gets it. And
well, it's so easy whenever you're sitting in a comfortable place to say, well, this is how I would do it in that situation.
The keyboard
you're not in her situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the keyboard warriors.
You don't know where your brain would have been in her place.
No. I mean, just like I said, go from a dead sleep at 3 a.m. to being completely dressed in your turnout gear, breathing air on a fire truck.
Yeah. Well, you know what the problem is, and I sort of say it, I hated being the boss. Okay. You know, I go out on the road, you know, with 50, 60 guys, and I was the head guy. And you're out there, and it's like, oh my God, you know, I used to think, I stay awake at night thinking all the stuff that can go wrong, because when it goes wrong, they don't want to talk to anybody but me, you know. And I see the person just like the Secret Service person, you know, the woman who was in charge of that. I look at her and I say, you know, okay, she screwed up, you know. I just think, you know, that's the one thing. That was why I always say in Grace. They always say, "What happened? I screwed up." I always took credit. I screwed up. You know, we could fix it.
I had a supervisor one time that I said, whenever I walk into your office, close the door and sit down and go, "You ain't gonna believe this shit." I said, "Trust me, you won't." And we had an incident where I had a rookie partner. We were going to a family member's call. And we went around a school bus with its red lights and sirens on. I mean, with its red lights on, and we went by red lights and sirens. And on top of that, it was a smaller bus. I'll leave it at that. When we got back to the station, because I'd already had my say as the person in charge of the truck, walked into the boss's office, slammed the door, and sat down and said, "You ain't gonna believe this shit." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I've already got a call from the mayor and 2 councilmen." "Yeah, I'm gonna believe it." He said, "The only thing that saved your job as her supervisor was that you walked right in here and sat down and said, 'You ain't gonna believe this shit.'"
Hey, you gotta fess up. When you screw up, you gotta fess up, you know?
I mean, that's what's his name? The Navy SEAL Jocko. Own your shit. If you ever get a chance to read that book that he wrote, well, any of his books, but he wrote that one about own your shit. He said, if you screw up, admit it. People are going to look up to you more. They're going to be glad that they can see something in you that's like them. So, but absolutely. All right, well, Lynn, we've kept y'all too long, but we still ain't seen any challenge coins. So what y'all got? Show us some coins. I know you got some cool.
We got a medical one that a commander of the 377th.
Yeah, a little bit close.
You can see that 377 medical unit gave us for our service in making movies about rape in the military, because he sees them all the time. And on the back of the coin it says, "Take care of the troops. It's what we do." And he thought we deserved this because we made a bunch of documentaries about the military and rape, and went to DC and polled for the change the rules, and they finally did. It was just last year, and it took a long time coming, but we finally got it changed.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to all of you, thank you for what you do. It's very important, and I think it's a very easy environment to tell the truth about the difficult things and yet laugh at the same time. So I think it's going to make it easy for people to, if they're not calling in, maybe they're listening, and that's a good beginning. I think a safe place for people to come and share about the truth about what's going on with them. So I will continue to put the word out to those individuals that I know that I think would be great guests to come on, and I'd love to come back again sometime.
I'll leave you with one thing. It's so much easier to tear shit down than to actually build it up. Think about that the next time you open your freaking mouth.
That needs to be on the t-shirt. Shay, did you get that?
Yep. No, because that hit pretty home with a couple of things. I was like, okay.
Oh, we all do it. I ain't immune to it, baby. I catch myself at the end of the night saying, "Man, what the hell's wrong with you?"
Well, we're all human. Hey, Shay, it was really nice to meet you.
Yeah, it was nice to meet all you guys. Great.
For making it fun, both of you. It was really nice.
I'm gonna have to make Lynn's podcast go video now, man. Go live, because she does it recorded. We're gonna have to start
you're the videographer, aren't you? How is this not a fact?
Truthfully, I shared with you the other night. I got cold feet because after my heart surgery, I got depressed, which I hear is normal, and and then rehabbing, physically and mentally too. I had to sort of pick myself up, and my mom died about a month ago, and now my Al-Anon sponsor just passed away like yesterday. So it's been a lot of mortality, and facing one's own mortality is not always easy. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I'm grateful for you showing up in my life at this time as you did, because I don't know that I would have stuck my toe back in the water tonight had this not presented itself. So yeah. I am very grateful to both of you. So thank you.
I'm the editor. Okay, and it's interesting because I edit her audios, and I edit the movies, and it's a lot easier when it's not live. You can throw away all the shit you don't want to hear.
Well, that's what I tell them. I'm the one that does all the editing. I'm like, you don't realize the stuff I hear. I'm taking out all the uhs, the ands, the clicks, the deep breaths.
I could spend hours going through taking out those little blurbs, because I don't want to make our guests sound like idiots. They say 5 times in a row. That's got to get cut out, and I got to splice it nice, because I don't want it to sound like a jump cut.
Yeah, but seriously, hey, you guys, I'm going to be putting the word out to some of the guests I've already had that I really think would be great for your show, and will be fun people to talk to, and they have some, really interesting stories. So we'll be talking.
Peace and love.
Okay.
Peace and love. If you're bored next week, my guest is already canceled for next week. So.
Oh no.
If you're bored next week, just let me know. Maybe
maybe Lori will come back on next week. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I hope she's feeling better. By the way, yeah, I needed to make that announcement because on the Finline Rock Station, one of my sponsors, well, a pseudo sponsor, they don't give me any money. They give me a lot of love and let me talk on their airways.
Okay.
I had really promoted that we were going to have a surprise special co-host. So she was sick. Her daughter got her sick. It's one of the disadvantages of having children, little germ breeders. So hopefully she'll get to feeling better and be back with us next week, and we'll be able to introduce her.
You got to get Gloria on your show.
She's wonderful.
She rocks. You know, she rocks. She makes us look like nothing.
She's like, kick your ass.
Yeah.
I mean, she really is. I mean, she is. She's a very dynamic and wonderful person.
She's a funny, tough bitch. I got
I
to
was
tell
gonna
you
say,
that.
so she's a badass.
I'm going to let you tell her that. I don't know her well enough.
She's a badass.
But a fun badass.
I wouldn't want to meet her
I'll
in the
tell her
dark
that
alley.
it's fine.
All right, Lynn, where can people see can they see any of your movies online? Can they see any of your stuff online? Or
The Invisible War, which we were in and helped make, that's on
Is that Amazon?
that's on Amazon, and our movie is still on Amazon, only for purchasing. It's I'm sorry,
Justice Denied.
Justice Denied is still on Amazon.
Yeah, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram. If anybody has questions or whatever, you're welcome to reach out, or you can find me through you.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that
because
documentary was cut to 30 minutes. It was an hour and a half, and we cut it to 30 minutes to make it a training film for the military.
Yes.
So that's the version that's on there now.
okay. All right. Well, and anybody you all find that you want to get on the show, let me know, because as you can tell, we're a lot of fun. Sometimes we get feisty, but we're a lot of
Hey,
fun.
you guys are cool.
Yes, Shay, thank you so much. Lots of
Hey,
fun.
I got to tell you about Shay. She had never had anything to do with public safety until she met me. And then she's like, who are these crazy MFers you've got me involved with?
No,
I got to show you something. Hold on a second.
so I'm the production assistant
No,
that then got pulled
paranormal
into
assistant.
everything.
I got
So
here. Hold on a second. I got more stuff here. Here's my collection. Okay, this is I got dust on it. This has been up here since I don't know. Here's my fire truck.
In her office, she used to have a picture of my father from 1935 when he became a firefighter.
I've got all kinds of stuff here. What else have I got?
A friend of mine asked me, his wife was ex FDNY sibling, or no, her dad was FDNY. He said, I got a question for you. And I said, what's that? He goes, is it weird? My wife has her father's day boots, which if you know what day boots are, they're the leather boots that roll down, or rubber boots that roll down.
Mine are in the
They're in
garage.
the
At the foot of our bed.
My dad's are so old they dried up and cracked.
You know what I told him? I said we should make a planter out of them.
There
Stuff
you
them,
go.
and I'm serious. I mean, we have to do something with them. So
I used to
It's my grandfather's helmet.
when my dad retired, I used to wear his bunker gear in the street, in the creeks when they filled up with water on Long Island. I used to put his boots on, and I used to go wading in them.
My son went trout fishing in mine, and then put him back up for me and didn't tell me. Yeah. Lynn, I appreciate it. I wish you guys well. If you want to come back next week, let me know. We'll be glad to have you.
we'll definitely talk. I love you guys. Thank you so much. You really brightened my day up. This was really a crappy day, and it turned into you uplifted me. So thank you so much.
Good.
And
Thank
sir, I appreciate everything you've done for not only us, but for her as well. So we appreciate it. So you've helped keeping
I've
this.
done it for that. I'm serious.
I'm glad you didn't thank me for my service. I hate that. I always tell her, you know what I tell everybody when they tell me that? Don't thank me. I slept half the time.
Yeah, that's what EMS is, earn money sleeping. Y'all have a great night. Andy says goodbye.
Wherever you are.
He's in Maryland, so we appreciate you. All right.
Anyway, we'll
Thanks.
talk.
It was fun.
Yes.
Bye,
All right,
Jay.
it was.
Bye.
Thanks.
Okay.
That was great. That
I
was
have
great.
I have some cool stuff to show before we hop off here if you want to see it.
Absolutely. If I want to see it, of course I want to see it.
It's not my boobs.
Well, I know your fiance. I would never ask that on the air. So
So this is this is Travis's dad's stuff, and I found this while I was looking through stuff. I'm trying to see if it says. It just says it's out of Newark, but let me see if you can. So this is like a really old pin,
oh yeah, like a stick pin.
and it's State of West Virginia, 1936, member State Police Safety Club.
Oh, that's cool. You have to take a photograph of that and send it to us.
And then this.
Oh, that's a Valor Award, isn't it?
It says, I don't know if you can really see it. Rifle sharpshooter.
Okay.
So that's really neat.
The Thin Line Rock Station wants to know if you got their email.
Yes, I did. I still have to. It's been a hectic day.
Okay.
And then I don't know if this. I don't know if this was supposed to be like Travis's mom's or something, but it's got two pins on it, and it's connected by this little. So there's but the heart says sweetheart.
Aw. Is it a tie pin? Or not? Is that what it's called?
I don't.
I think it's called a tie
mean,
pin.
I guess it could be like if this part hooks to your jacket and this part hooks to your tie, it would hold it there. So.
Yeah, I think back a long time ago that was a big thing. Tie pins, because I'm pretty sure I found my grandfather's. I found he was a member of a club called the Odd Fellows, which is like kind of like the Masons, and I found a bunch of that stuff this last trip up there.
And now I don't know if, because these still look, they don't, this one at least doesn't look very old, but it doesn't tell you where it's from. That was just in with all the military stuff. So this could be when he worked as an armed guard for Brinks. It could be when he worked for air gas. I don't know, but there are 4 different. It's a safe driving award. It's 1 through 4.
Oh, nice.
I have no idea what those are, but they're cool nonetheless.
Probably Brinks, if I had to guess.
Yeah, because he did a lot of crazy stuff with them. Now this one, and it's never been opened.
I remember my first safe driving award I got from the department. My captain came to me. He says, "Do you really want a ceremony for this?" I'm like, "What is it?" He goes, "It's your 5-year safe driving award." And I said, "What the hell are you talking about? I never drive. I'm always in the back of the ambulance." He goes, "Yeah, I know." He goes, "But you got the award nonetheless."
So I'll have to like take a close-up picture of this one because this one is so small. But this is his honorable discharge pin.
And what branch was he? Marines?
He was in the Marines.
Okay, that's it looked like a Marine logo.
He was shot 3 times.
Oh my gosh, you should have some Purple Hearts there somewhere.
The only one that I found that we have is Travis's uncle's. So I don't know where his dad's is.
You can actually go and find out their military records. My wife went back and found out about her father's and grandfather's. It's through the Freedom of Information Act, and you can get most, unless they were in some secret squirrel stuff.
And they're his.
Oh, those are the old ones, yeah.
And
Yeah, those are non-era.
I don't know if this was one to go with it.
That's who I
or
need to
this
have on the show. I got this is a real complicated story, but some guy saw
Yes.
online a metal detector, somebody out doing metal detecting, found a set of dog tags. And my wife's or maiden name is a very unique name.
Mhm.
And this guy said, well, I want to put the family in touch with whose ever this is. It was found in another country, a country on the border of Germany. And so through a series of events, they found us online and put us in touch with them.
Wow.
And it was her father's. It was because, long story short, it was her father's dog tags that they found metal detecting just outside of Germany. And whatever the story is, apparently the base was about to be overran or whatever. And they told them all to throw their tags basically down and run. And so, so they couldn't be easily identified. I mean, so yeah. It's a very interesting story. I would like to get him on to tell the story because he found it just out metal detecting and here, God, 80 years later, via the internet, he found God, that's proper English. Found us. I think I learned to talk by now. That's what I do. I pontificate.
And I thought that there was going to be some mining script in here, but I might have put that separate. I just thought this was neat. This is from the Bank of Korea.
Oh, is it just a coin?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you need to take pictures of it, and we'll put them on the screen. We can do that.
Now, I saved the best one for last because this is freaking awesome.
What you got?
It's his.
His ring.
Yeah.
Was it from his graduation from boot or his retirement?
I don't know.
I think there for a while, depending, the branch or whatever his specialty was, not necessarily from boot, from his specialty, they were doing rings for certain MOSs. So
I don't know. I'd have to ask him. But
we need to get a coin to Lynn, so we need to get her info and get her a coin on the way because we want any of our guests that come on the show here to have a coin, and we can make it happen. So,
and there's some box here of something.
I love finding those at my grandparents' house. I don't know what this is.
It looks like somebody took the tail of something and made a bracelet out of it. And it has his mom's name on it.
That sounds much worse than it probably is.
And I tried to look up what those words mean, and I don't know. So,
hey, take some pictures, put them in close up. We'll put it on the net. And hey, in 40 years, somebody may contact you and tell you what it means.
And by then, I'm going to be like, what?
How
long ago?
Internet. I remember when that was just starting.
The good old days.
That's great. Now it's all programmed into our brain directly.
Yep.
All right. So you've got us figured out for tomorrow for the Misfits.
Yes, it's all good to go in the Google Drive.
All right. And tell everybody what's going to be there.
So we are going to be talking about some of the world's craziest inventions in history. And the first one that I found, I thought was pretty genius in a sense, which was what was it? The mousetrap pistol.
Okay. You've got
which is literally like, Tom and Jerry hole cut in the
Mhm.
wall, pistol pointed in there. So that when a mouse
Potato
came
gun?
up, it just shot the mouse. And I was like,
Oh, make sure
right.
to tell Bobby we need to have him on in case PETA gets involved. So,
I
and
was like,
then-
all right.
and then let's see, we will have on Monday or Tuesday. Monday, isn't it? I don't remember. I have to go back and look. We have the CBS Big Brother show. It's gotten quite interesting even since our last night's show. So we'll have that. And then next week, we are treated. We have, you want to say it? You're excited.
Oh, Shelby.
We have a country and western singer, songwriter, musician, Shelby Lee Lowe. Not only does he know Bigfoot, he's a crooner. And then we have a
and he's
professional
very,
wrestler after that.
he's very pretty too.
Well, I didn't make that judgment, so don't point that one
I
at me.
did.
No, you're gonna make Vinny jealous, and then we'll be back.
Yeah, the only way that he'll beat Vinny is if he's got a very like low voice with a southern twang with it.
I'm so worried where my
So-
shows are going. Remember, those have to be FM friendly. So
Hey, I made the one with Vinny FM friendly. I
That's
just
thank you to the Parapost Network for allowing us on your network. Thank you to Yerg's Radio, to Ross Yerg's Rainbow Radio. We appreciate all the love and support. And of course, thank you to the Thin Line Rock Station. Please make sure to go tune in there. Very soon, you might hear some familiar voices. So make sure to start giving them a listen. But you definitely need to listen Mondays and Tuesdays, noon to 2, and then Fridays, Friday Night Flashback. Through the magic of the internet, I'm just now finishing up that other show. So I'm in 2 places at once. I'm a doppelganger. Everybody have a great night. Thank you.